Are you looking to apply for a visa to Uganda? I am a Ugandan who recently has had to apply for a visa to Uganda, and I thought I'd make this video to share my experience. Hi guys, my name is Sissy. I am a Ugandan medical doctor working in the UK, and for the first time in my life I had to apply for a visa to Uganda. Earlier this year when I went to visit, I applied for my kids. I have 3 children who have recently got British citizenship, so they were traveling using their British passports. Me and my husband were still using our Ugandan passports, so we did not need a visa. So the process was a bit new, and I think it's also recently been changed, so it's new for I think everyone. Previously, depending on your passport, you could just go and get a visa on arrival in Uganda, which sounds so much easier, and unfortunately they've changed that. So now you have to apply in advance before you go. I've heard of a few people who have been denied boarding planes going to Uganda because they didn't have the visa in advance. So kindly apply for a visa first. So step 1 is to go to the Ugandan visa application website, which is visas.immigration.go.ug. That's where I went. So in my case, I chose a visit visa, which was a single entry. They also have student visas, work, and other things. So you choose the one that applies to you, which in my case was visit visa. And under visit visa, there was single entry or multiple entry. I chose a single entry. There was also a visit visa which applies to East Africa, which I thought is really cool if you're planning to go to other East African countries, so you can apply and use just the one. Then you fill in the application form, which is pretty straightforward: name, date of birth, passport number, all that regular like demographic information that's required for most other applications to visas or other like forms. Fill that in. There's something where you can link your application to like a group. So for instance, I did that. I did link my application to a group for only 2 kids because I realized after I had already done it for 1 child that I could actually do this. So I linked 2 of theirs so that you get like 1 application number and you can track them all together, making it easier for you. In terms of the actual biodata that's requested, they ask for their name and then date of birth, and then they ask for gender, which they only have male or female. There is no other because I guess the people in charge of the Ugandan visa application system are not yet up to date with all the other options of like being non-binary and all that. So it's only male or female, which I guess you should be aware of in case you're non-binary, that it could be a bit complicated deciding what to choose. And then they have marital status, which I felt was like I didn't understand what's the point of marital status. Next is the address in Uganda, i.e. where you're going, and what's the address of where you're going. Then was the travel history, so they want to know your travel history, other countries you've been to in the last 5 years, which it was just listing, like list the country and that's all. They didn't need details of when did you enter the country, when did you leave the country, like say the UK visa application, which is so much more complicated, and they want all your life history of like where you've been. Next is the purpose of the visit. So the purpose of the visit had for me obviously was visiting relatives. There were other things like former Ugandan if you're a former Ugandan, which actually my kids are, I guess, kind of former Ugandan. And then there was also medical reasons or a conference, or there was a specific conference that's happening which was listed there as well. What's your date of arrival? So what date are you arriving in the country? And the length of visa requested. So how long are you planning to stay? Have you been convicted of any criminal offenses in any country? And then there was one of the last questions was, are you suffering from any mental illness? Which I felt like, what is the relevance of this? I think this is very discriminatory, similar to the question about gender. Then you add the document. So that's the end of the form. So those are the questions that I got out when I looked at the form that I felt were important to mention here. And after you filled out your form, then you have to add your documents. The documents requested are a letter stating your visit, a letter stating your reason of visiting, return ticket, invitation letter if you've been invited by someone or like it's a conference or something, your passport, your immigration status in your country of residence, and a recent passport photograph. So for me, in my case, all I put was the kids' passport and their passport photos, and also yellow fever vaccination certificate, which is still required. This was a bit of a pain because my kids had not been vaccinated for yellow fever, so we had to go and do that first, which was expensive. It was like £50, I think. You have to do it in like, it's like we got it privately in pharmacies, and then they give a certificate, and then yeah, we uploaded the certificate as well. So that's all I uploaded. So there's a long list of things, but at the end of the day, the most important are passport photo, your passport page, and the yellow fever certificate. So that's what I did, and that's all I submitted. But then later on, they sent me an email asking me I need to add evidence of who is traveling with their kids, because obviously they are minors. So then I had to add my own information, like my passport information, and also my return tickets as well, to prove that we're traveling together. Then after you've submitted your documents, then you click submit, and then you have to pay $50 US. That was the price of the visa application. And then there will be a number that they show you, this is your application number. Make sure you write that down, because like for me, I did 2 applications. I have 3 kids, so I linked 2 of them, and then one was by herself. And when I did her application first, the number, like I didn't save it. I assumed they're going to send me a confirmation email. I didn't write it down. I did not get a confirmation email. And so there was no way to track the whole application to see what's going on. And that was really a bit stressful. And then for my other kids, once I finished submitting and I got the number, then I wrote that down. But then luckily they sent me a confirmation email about that. So I think the system is a bit glitchy. So I would recommend that when you apply, write down the application number, because in case you don't get a confirmation email. The other thing I found really difficult is how to get updates. So I said earlier they emailed me, and actually they did not email me. What happens is that you have to check for application updates on the portal. So you log onto the portal using the application number that you've received. So if you've lost it, you can't check. And then after filling that in, then you can see like if there's any update. So for instance, that's where I saw a request saying, please can you give us information about who is the adult traveling with this minor. If I hadn't checked, I wouldn't have known. And then there's no alerts. So it's all a bit difficult in that way. But in the end, what I did is that I found an email address on their website, which was mail@immigration.go.ug. And they responded within a day or 2, giving me the application number. So I gave them like other identifiable information to help me find my application. And then I found the information. They gave me the application number, which I could use to track my application. All in all, the whole process took about 7 days, because I applied on the 7th of March and I got the visas on the 14th of March. So just 7 days later. And I also had that like back and forth within that 7-day period. So it was pretty quick if you know about it, because I'm thinking if I had no idea and maybe I've arrived for the flight and then they tell me I need a visa, I don't know how quick it can be. I don't know if you can get it in like 24 hours. I have no idea. But I would recommend you do it at least a minimum of 2 weeks in advance, because you never know how slow things can be. And especially if you are Ugandan and you feel like for you are Ugandan, you have a Ugandan passport, and someone else you're traveling with doesn't. Because I've heard of a story of some people who went, like me and my husband, with our Ugandan passports and our kids with British passports, and they were denied travel because their kids didn't have the visas. So yes, be aware of that. So on arrival, when we arrived in Uganda, we had to line up in the non-Ugandan line, because there's Ugandan and non-Ugandan line. And usually the non-Ugandan line is shorter, which is convenient, because it's also unusual, because in the UK, the non-UK line is longer, and they make it easier for their, like their nationals. But in Uganda, they make it harder for us, the Ugandans, instead of a harder time. So we went to the non-Ugandan line, which was short. Then they print out the visa sticker, which you now put in your passport. And then we now had to go to the non-Ugandan line, which was so frustrating, because like the person at the front could not also work on us, which feels a bit like there's a lot of delays that seem unnecessary. Like if only they could process us as well, but they couldn't. Us, the parents, had to now go to the non-Ugandan line and wait. And they do help, because if your kids are crying, which luckily my kids do cry. My kids usually tend to cry at the time that's convenient to help us move things along. Obviously they're tired, the journey is so long, they're exhausted. I'm also tired, I'm exhausted. And so no one wants crying kids. So that kind of helps you to shuffle off along, and like people just tell you pass, and stop making noise for us. So we reached and we were soon shuffled to the front of the line, and had our visas processed, and then yeah, we crossed over and went into Uganda, which is a really lovely country to visit. I would recommend that you go if you're looking for somewhere to go and visit, and also if you're Ugandan and you have your family, which is where I was going, is that yeah, I'm going to see my family, and I really, and it's home for me, so I love going to Uganda. So yeah, visit Uganda. I hope you liked that video. I will link here a video in which I talk about the things that I miss about Uganda, or what I really enjoy about Uganda. So you can go check that out too.